The terrifying monsters gathered and ready to attack the soldiers were overwhelmed to hold back the monsters. They only hoped that the hero could defeat the Demon King. They wondered to the hero, he has been fighting all day. Can he really defeat the Demon King? Meanwhile, in the Demon King's castle, a woman who was the hero's partner fell weakly on the floor. Then the Demon King said, "Hero, because of you I can finally take this land and make this world finally stable." The hero replied, "I won't let you do it, Demon King Moriarty." The Demon King said, "Let's finish this hero." It was all just a comic drawn by our MC Xu Yingsu, a 25-year-old single man who draws manhwa for a living. Today he lost his job because the comic entitled, "The Hero Battles the Demon King." He got low ratings and readership continued to drop. He was told by his boss to make his last chapter today and after that leave here. While crying he said, "See you later, I'll make this chapter amazing and you'll regret it for the rest of your life." He was determined to make his comic amazing. Outside a rainstorm was happening. Then suddenly lightning struck his office. Because of the strike, Xu Ying's office was blacked out, and unfortunately, he had not saved the comic he was working on. He said, "Even God doesn't allow it." But strangely, the monitor screen did not turn off but turned on. Then Xu Ying held the screen and suddenly released a bright light, and the MC was absorbed into it. He also screamed in fear. Then a voice appeared explaining that he was an administrator of his comic. Xu Ying was confused and wondered, where did this voice come from? What is meant by administrator? The transfer procedure occurred in a matter of 321. Xu Ying was burned and felt hot, but did not feel pain at all. The transfer process was complete, and in front of him there was a light that was so bright, and he entered it. He fell from the sky, and below him was a continent named Pant Continent, which he made from his own comics. He wondered if this was real. Underneath there was a war going on. The soldier below shouted, "Look what fell from the sky," and is heading for the Demon King's residence. The MC screamed in fear, and then he crashed into the Demon King's castle. He was still confused and said, "Is this the result of him staying up late to finish the comic? What dream am I having?" He did not expect to dream of entering the comic he was working on. Suddenly he was called by the hero named Ash. He was asked, why can a second-grade soldier destroy the Demon King's castle protector, and can destroy his residence like this? Xu Ying was surprised. Xu Ying was surprised why she became a character in the comic. She felt scared, and it felt very real. Was she not dreaming? She was surprised to see the Demon King in front of her. Demon King said, "Where are these insects? I will kill you too." A female colleague of the hero named Tia shouted to Xu Ying, "Warrior, why are you staying there? The hero and Demon King will fight there. Do you want to die? Get out of the way." Xu Ying was still confused as to why Tia was here. And what did she say, fight? It's not like this scene was the last one I drew. That means from now on Moriarty will attack here. Then the Demon King attacked with his sword and he shouted, "Don't come near." And suddenly the hero blocked the attack and the hero was stabbed right in his chest. Tia shouted, "Ash." The sword was pulled out and the hero fell back. Xu Ying and Tia approached the hero. Tia cried and said, "Why did you save him? If you die, who will defeat the Demon King?" The MC was confused once this was not what I planned. The hero was dying and he spoke hobbled, "I don't know. My body is moving by itself. I feel that he is the person I have to protect to save this world." Xu Ying shouted, "Ash." Then a very large warning system appeared, and he wondered, warning for what? A message appeared and said, "Warning." Ash's sudden death caused his rating to drop from 4.8 to 3.4, and that was lower than the required rating. The world, the hero battles, the Demon King, will be destroyed. Yu Xing called out the hero's name. The Demon King said not to be sad. His death is in my hands. Consider it as my contribution to the control of this country. Tai replied that she didn't deserve to be the leader of this country. Demon King said, "I don't deserve it. The bastards who sealed me 1,000 years ago also said that, but now they are dead, while I am still alive." Xu Ying was scared because Demon King became angry because of Tia's words. Demon King continued his speech, "All heroes in this generation are dead. Why do you still want to stop me? This world will be mine." Then Tia stood back and said, "Even though all heroes are dead, the Wind Royal Army will not give up. I will not let you become the world leader." Demon King said, "Very troublesome." With one slash, Tia's hand was thrown very fast and at the wall. Demon King said, "You are the #1 mage in the world. Without a hero, you won't be able to attack me. I'll kill this little bug first. Then the Queen of Wind Kingdom will kill you in front of everyone, then your troops will run away." The Demon King looked at Xu Ying. He couldn't move his body. even though he wanted to run, but his body still couldn't move. Although he had gone through hardships and various things in life, but he had never experienced the situation between life and death, because he lived in the era of peace, and the person who was going to kill him was the character he had created. Then he wondered, should I be afraid of him? The Demon King began to attack Xu Yang, and he was bounced back. He was shocked and said, do I avoid him? But he felt pain. It turned out that the Demon King began to attack Xu Yang. But he felt pain. It turned out that one of his legs had been cut off. He cried out in pain. The Demon King spoke to Xu Yang. It's not bad that you can avoid my attacks, but how long can your luck last? Xu Yang felt this pain was so real, and he could not escape from it at all. Tia shouted, stop. He's just a warrior, don't kill him. But the Demon King wanted to kill him. Xu Yang predicted that his next move would definitely be to cut off his head, because that was his hobby and personality that he had made for the Demon King character. Then the Demon King attacked him, but because he already knew his next move, so he could parry his attack using his sword Ash. Tia was surprised that it wasn't Ash's sword. When did he take it? Xu Yang was very lucky that due to his first attack, he was thrown to the side of Ash's sword, and he hit it behind, so that Demon King would not notice. But even though he managed to parry it, the sword was shattered. He was surprised that he had not designed this sword to be as strong as Demon King's sword. Is it because I am too weak that this sword cannot bring out the power of this sword? The Demon King said, looks like your luck has run out. Xu Yang began to panic because he had no plans anymore. He did not want to die. He began to lament his fate. I am a nobody in the real world. Do I have to beg others in this world, even though I myself created this world? Xu Yang shouted loudly because he had no plans anymore. He did not want to die. He began to lament his fate. I am a nobody in the real world. Do I have to beg others in this world, even though I myself created this world? Xu shouted loudly, I created you. Then the Demon King's sword struck her, but nothing happened to her body. Demon King Moriarty began to disappear. Demon King asked Xu Yang, what do you mean? You are our creator. What are you doing to me? It shouldn't be like this. This power shouldn't exist in this world. The Demon King immediately disappeared, but Tia also shouted while asking for help, because she also began to disappear. Xu Yang also shouted, calling her name, but suddenly Tia disappeared completely. She did not accept this. Not only Tia and Moriarty, but Ash's body also disappeared. The entire Demon King city also disappeared. Suddenly a message from the administrator appeared and wrote a message. Because the visitors said the forbidden word high-level comic rating dropped to 0 the world. The hero battles, the Demon King, began to disappear. All characters and places will disappear in 1 minute. All visitors are expected to leave this place quickly. Xu Yang was confused. Tell me how to get out of this place. Then a message appeared and told Xu Yang to press Ctrl plus Q. He was confused. Instead of the button to exit the drawing software, he thought, is it if I press this button, I can get out of this world and return to my home world? He immediately pressed the button, but nothing happened. Then a message appeared that the exit process failed because he had died in the real world due to electric shock. He was shocked. I died from electric shock. So what am I now? Xu Yang's body began to disappear. She panicked and asked the administrator, what will happen if I disappear? Then a message appeared and told her that she would die. She was even more panicked because there was no way to stop this. And suddenly the Ctrl plus Z button appeared, and a message appeared with the words, press this button to reset the entire comic, and then she can rewrite the author's destiny. He was shocked and said, rewrite my destiny. Xu Yang wondered about the message that appeared in front of him. What is meant by rewriting my destiny? The previous message reappeared and told him that he was dead in the real world, and only his soul remained here. If his soul disappeared, then he would also experience total death. Xu Yang began to be afraid, and he was told to press the Ctrl plus D button to reset all the contents of the comic. That way he would also get a new life and his death could be avoided. Xu Yang also asked the administrator, if I reset, will I return to 2022 and have to make this comic again? The administrator also answered true, and after that the contents of the comic that had been read by readers would be replaced with a new version. Xu Yang finally realized that if he could repeat all the contents of the comic, then he could change this comic to be more interesting and could change the comic rating. Xu Yang also recalled all the events that caused him to end up like this, and he was able to conclude that if he could increase his comic rating, then he would still be able to live. The administrator confirmed that, but if he failed to increase his comic rating, then he would experience total death. Xu Yang also asked the administrator, If he was in the comic, how did he know the rating of the comic? The administrator replied that he would show all feedback in the real world in real time, including the number of ratings, likes, favorites, monthly tickets, and comments. As an author, you can use the feedback from readers and decide on the best possible flow, and keep in mind that this comic is the determinant of your life and death. Xu Ying was asked if he agreed to do a reset, and he agreed. Xu Ying is determined that he will make this comic as interesting as possible, and will get out of this comic alive. The button to reset appeared, and there was a message that he could only use the reset button 3 times, and he was only given 5 seconds to press the reset button. While the countdown occurred, Xu Ying strengthened his heart, and said that whatever disaster he will face, as a great author he will always remain calm, and thank all the readers of this comic. Then he pressed the reset button. The rating of the comic was reset to the beginning of 5.0, and automatically the main world would be balanced, and the reset was complete. Xu Ying was called by someone, and he woke up, and when he woke up he was surprised, because the leg that had previously been cut off turned out to be his leg back again. The person who woke him up said that he was worried and scared himself because he was originally fine, but he suddenly fainted. If the slave owner saw this, then they were finished. Xu Ying was shocked that instead of the person in front of him being Uncle Ben, a side character he created, and instead of this scene being in the first chapter of the comic and this place being the Ore Vein Cave where the demonic slave's ore was mined. He concluded that resetting the comic didn't mean he had to redraw it, but he had to directly intervene in the comic. He also felt unlucky because he became a slave just like Ash. The slave owner named Kranz Ricky also appeared and scolded the slaves there. Then Uncle Ben explained to the owner that there was a child who fainted, so they stopped working for a while. Mr. Ricky answered calmly, but when Uncle Ben was thanking him, the slave owner hit Uncle Ben hard, and he fell unconscious. Xu Ying immediately shouted for Uncle Ben. The slave owner punished them by giving orders to find twice as much ore, or their hands would both be cut off and turned into beast food. Xu Ying felt very unlucky. Forget about increasing comic ratings. If he didn't find a solution to this situation, he wouldn't be able to get out of this cave alive. He began to work hard to find ore, while thinking about how sad his life was. He was enslaved by the characters he created himself. Uncle Ben also apologized to Xu Ying for involving him. He replied to just rest because he was still okay. But in fact he was not very okay. He used to work on the computer, and now he had to mine ore. It was too much for his own body. Xu Ying also asked Uncle Ben about Ash's whereabouts, but Uncle Ben had never heard of someone by the name of Ash here. Xu Ying felt confused because the person he asked was the one who witnessed how Ash grew up, and Ash was also the protagonist or MC in this comic. How could he not be here? Then the administrator looked for a character named Ash, but the character Ash was not here, and the name of the protagonist in this comic was Xu Bingsu. She felt very confused. What is this nonsense? Why am I the protagonist in this comic? He almost said the forbidden word again. Fortunately, he remembered it so that he did not repeat the same mistake again. Uncle Ben felt strange about Xu Ying. Why did she become like this after waking up? And Uncle Ben must not have been able to see this window system, so he must have thought Xu Ying was crazy for talking to herself. Suddenly a message popped up telling him that he could hear or see his thoughts. She asked the system if there was some kind of narration box where she could write down what she was thinking. Then the system replied, "Yes," he said, "crazy. It seems like I'm really in the comic." Then after that there was an explosion right in front of Xu Ying. Uncle Ben was very surprised and said, "Why are there so many strange things happening today?" Xu Ying also saw the hole in front of him, and he remembered that this incident did not happen when there was an earthquake, and Ash fell and awakened his abilities. Then went on an adventure, and what was originally a slave then became a hero. He also felt confused as to why this had happened. Was it because his actions were different from Ash's causing the plot to change and causing this to happen earlier? Then a message from the system appeared and told him that he had to be careful in acting because it could affect the storyline that would occur. Because Xu Ying is a protagonist, he must make his first chapter as interesting as possible. Because the beginning of the chapter is the determinant of whether readers will continue to read this comic or not. Xu Ying also told Uncle Ben that he would enter the hole and told him that if he did not return within 12 hours then he was dead. But if he managed to return, then he did not have to mine ore again. Uncle Ben was confused by what Xu Ying was talking about. But soon, Xu Ying jumped down, and he began to say in his heart, "I am the author who is the protagonist in this comic. And if he can increase his rating he will live, and if not he will die. This is very thrilling." and the scene also shows Ash lying floating somewhere. Xu Yang plunged into the underground magic crystal mine, or called the No Man's Land. The place was so deep and Xu Yang was very panicked. Fortunately, when he almost reached the bottom, he fell on a large slime, and after that the slime vomited him from his body and left. There was a pickaxe in front of Xu Yang. He then picked up the pickaxe and felt grateful. Fortunately, the pickaxe fell with him so that he could mine all the magic crystals in that place. Magic crystal is very important in this world. It can power many magic mechanics, just like oil in the real world, and it is also very useful for mages. Magic crystal can be used as a trading tool, and the more people have this thing, the more authoritative it will look. Then after the Demon King rose again, magic crystal would be very helpful in the future, so preparing more would be very helpful for the future. When he was mining, suddenly 3 monsters called scavenger beasts appeared chasing him. In the original comic, Ash fought with the beast using the power he got from working for 10 years as a slave, while Xu Yang was just a weak author. If he fought then, he would die immediately. He also tried to keep his distance from the monster, but the monster clawed his back and he was immediately thrown forward. He did not expect that the monster moved so fast. He could not be caught by the monster, otherwise he would become food for the monsters. He also said that he would not give up because as an author he knew this monster better than Ash. After that, he immediately threw balls into the mouths of the monsters. Then the mouths of the monsters were burned. Xu Yang immediately rushed to the monster and hit the monster with a pickaxe. The monster had a weakness, which was fresh food. And what he threw was a piece of bread, and it caused the monster's throats to explode. Xu Yang's skill panel appeared, and there he had 6 skill points and 3 bonus points for doing an instant kill on the previous monster. Xu Yang was surprised because his strength was only -1. Then the system detected that the system he had was low level. The administrator changed the system to the Pro version hero skill panel, so that Xu Yang can distribute his skill points manually. Then Xu Yang also asked the administrator to add 4 points to his strength. He felt stronger. Previously he had to use all his strength to lift the pickaxe, but now he only felt like he was welding a pen. He also added 4 points to his agility, and used another 1 point in mana. As he had increased his magic from 0 to 1, it made him a person who could use magic. Xu Yang ordered the administrator to open the backpack and started mining again. He mined the place quickly, and he managed to collect all the 25 tons of high-tier magic crystals there. He felt exhausted, and he wondered if he was overdoing it, because Ash had only taken 1 ton of magic crystals. He saw a shining place in this cave, because there were many magic crystals before, so he didn't see a place like that. He approached the place and he saw a thin layer in front of him. He held the layer, and it was very similar to a barrier. The system also told him that the barrier was created by himself. He was surprised because, why don't I remember making a barrier like this? Then he asked the system if he could open the barrier. The system replied that it could be opened by the creator himself without certain conditions. Then the barrier was opened. When he entered there, he didn't see anything here, but not long after that a very large monster named Subterranean King appeared. He was very surprised why the monster was here. It turned out that it was a concept that he had thrown away, but even though it had been thrown away, it would still be there and would be covered by a barrier. Then a message from the system appeared and gave him a mission to kill the Subterranean King. Xu Yang felt shocked. Are you kidding? Killing that thing is impossible at this early stage. A message popped up telling her that if she gave up on this mission, then the comic's ratings would fall. The monster attacked him, but he managed to dodge the attack, and the monster continued its attack by releasing a bright light from its forehead. In the past, Xu Yang drew the monster with an amazingly great concept. The monster had great strength, unreasonable agility, and even more amazingly, the monster could shoot a magic laser from its forehead, and surely an Ash would have difficulty finding it. Xu Yang was very sorry for making a monster like this, and the monster shot a magic laser from his forehead and caused a huge explosion. The cave caught fire, and Xu Yang survived the attack, but he was buried by the debris of the cave. After he was free from the debris, Xu Yang was caught by the monster. He was in pain because the monster's grip was very strong. The ribs were all broken, and the monster looked very happy to see Xu Yang in pain. Xu Yang thought, does the monster want revenge on its creator for deleting him and locking him up here? Xu Yang also asked the administrator to reset the comic, but the system replied to him and said that he was not yet eligible to reset. He thought very hard. He was still at the beginning of the comic, and he didn't have any items or friends that could help him. Judging from his stats, he wouldn't be able to escape the monster's grip. Could he just give up? The system told her, "Why don't you look at the items you have first?" Su-Ying also remembered that she had a lot of magic crystals, so she asked the administrator to take out all her magic crystals and throw them all at the Monster King. The monster began to be crushed by the magic crystal, and Su-Ying began to break free from the monster's grasp, but if he fell from such a high distance he would die. But with all his agility stat, he tried hard to use the magic crystal as his foothold, and he managed to get down safely. Not long after that, it turned out that the monster survived his attack. Su-Ying felt very desperate. The scene moved to Uncle Ben, who was being tied up by the slave owner, that he was asked to tell where Su-Ying was. If not, he will be killed by the slave owner. Uncle Ben said in his heart, if he tells where Su-Ying is, then they will definitely close the hole and Su-Ying will not be able to come back. Uncle Ben spat at the slave owner and said, "Get lost." The slave owner got angry and cast electric magic on him. Uncle Ben gave up and he said that he would tell him, and the slave owner stopped his attack. But Uncle Ben's answer was a mocking sentence and told him that his hair is like a big pile of tie. The slave owner became very angry. He started to bring out his electric magic again and tried to punch Uncle Ben. But soon Su-Ying appeared and stopped the electric fist from the slave owner, and Su-Ying apologized to Uncle Ben for being a little late.